The first thing I want to address about this edition of SmackDown right off the back is the fact that instead of JBL this week, we had Alex Riley on commentary. And, I was really looking forward to seeing how Alex Riley was going to do, as I felt that he could have been a potential main eventer in WWE. And it seems that they're not really going that way with him. And he's a pretty good talker. I mean, I believe his father and members of his family have been part of ESPN, so he has commentary, he has talking in his blood. So this might be a good way of pushing Alex Riley forward if they're not going to be pushing him as a wrestler. Push him as a commentator. I mean, you've had, I believe, Matt Striker go out of the business now, and he's doing stuff elsewhere. So they've got to bring someone new into the mix, and Alex Riley could be the kind of guy that WWE are looking for on the commentary scene. He really could be, and I felt he did a pretty solid job tonight. He's doing a lot of commentary on Superstars, and he's filling in for JBL right now. Hell, I wouldn't mind if they brought him in as a third commentator, to be honest, because if I see A-Rai on my screen, then I definitely look forward to the show. So we open up the show with our World Heavyweight Champion, Alberto Del Rio. And did anyone else find it funny that when he was picking his #1 contender for SummerSlam, that he picked Ricardo Rodriguez? I find that kind of funny. And as I was laughing, I kind of thought to myself, this may be funny now, but I wouldn't mind actually seeing Ricardo Rodriguez defeat Del Rio for the World Heavyweight Championship, because I think without Ricardo Rodriguez, Del Rio kind of suffers a little bit. His character really does suffer when Ricardo Rodriguez isn't there, as we've seen on recent editions of Raw and SmackDown. We have Vicky Guerrero coming out making a #1 contendership match for the evening between Christian, RVD, and Randy Orton. Randy Orton actually defeated Del Rio, so he has a reason to be in there, I guess. Christian defeated Del Rio on Raw, so he has a reason to be in there. So RVD lost to Del Rio last week, so I guess that gives him a reason to be a #1 contender. Yeah, I'm just saying. So we had a main event evening for the evening. Del Rio actually got a little bit of heat in his promo, which I guess isn't really a surprise considering how much canned heat is put into SmackDown, but a decent opening segment which at least was going to set up our World Heavyweight Championship match for SummerSlam later on in the night. A couple of months ago, Jack Swagger was the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. A couple of months ago, Cody Rhodes was a jobber. It's funny how the roles reverse over a couple of months now, isn't it? You've got Jack Swagger, who it looks like WWE is still punishing him for his crimes before WrestleMania 29, who's been doing a hell of a lot of jobs lately. And now you've got Cody Rhodes, who they're turning babyface, who they're starting to try and push a little bit, especially in his feud with Damien Sandow, which last week played out fantastically, in my opinion. And I heard on Raw, the segment, you had Damien Sandow making fun of Cody Rhodes' family being a bunch of clowns and stuff, which added a little bit there. You know you're a babyface or a new babyface on the scene when you start winning matches via roll-ups. In the Divas division, they do that quite a lot, don't they? And Cody Rhodes beat Jack Swagger via a roll-up. I guess they didn't want to make Jack Swagger look too bad, even though he's looking bad anyway because he's been jobbing so much recently. But anyway, you had Cody Rhodes with the post-match interview backstage, and then Damien Sandow attacks him. A nice, simple, effective way to continue on this feud. It wasn't going to be featured as the main event this week. So this segment, I felt, continued on a feud which I'm actually really interested in going into SummerSlam. And Cody Rhodes' babyface push, I think he does his better work as a heel, and him being a babyface does seem a little bit forced in my opinion, but we're getting a good feud out of it, and let's see if WWE can actually maybe do something with Cody Rhodes as a babyface. At least as a babyface, Cody Rhodes is a lot more relevant than what he was, let's say, 6 months ago as a heel. Why do they still have the Sin Cara lights when Sin Cara isn't even relevant anymore? Especially when he's facing E Langston, which they knew the segment was going to be all about. Why even bother with those blue lights anymore? I just really don't get it. Sin Cara's now a jobber. So what's the point in him getting spotlighted with these lights? I just don't get it. E Langston wins this match. Thankfully, he didn't sell too much for Sin Cara. He caught him a lot and, used his power moves a lot. That's exactly how it should have been done, and Big E won in the way he should have. That's really all I can say about this segment. It looks like they're going to be doing some kind of thing between him and Dolph Ziggler. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the review when we get to the Divas match. I know they went on SmackDown this week, but I just want to briefly talk about The Shield. I've found that, even though I'm not watching Raw anymore, I found that I've really stopped caring about The Shield. I remember at one point The Shield were the best thing on WWE TV. Now whenever I see a segment involving The Shield, I'm just a bit like, I could really give or take this segment if I'm honest with you. Most of the time I really don't pay all that much attention to it. And I just think that might just be because of WWE's direction with The Shield. It's kind of like the same old now. And it's almost like they've got heat backstage or something, because now it seems just like they're not really a focus of the show anymore, whereas they were maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I'm just not sure what direction WWE wants to go in with The Shield. It's like they kind of don't really mean all that much now. It's just like they're part of the show now, rather than something that stands out from the show, which I think they definitely could be. And they used to seem like such a big deal, and now I'm just I'm just not bothered about them. And apparently WWE are going to be setting up potentially Big Show and Mark Henry versus The Shield, which at least, if anything, should be a big match for The Shield at SummerSlam, which they desperately need right now, in my opinion. Even though I don't like Mark Henry's babyface turn one bit. CM Punk versus Fandango. I mean, I guess this made sense. They had that segment last week where CM Punk beat the shit out of Fandango. I guess with Lesnar not being on SmackDown, that they kind of have to give CM Punk some sort of filler to keep him going through SmackDown. And Lesnar wasn't on Raw this week, so I'm hoping that he'll be on Raw to hype up this feud on Raw for the next 2 weeks going into SummerSlam. And I'm hearing that Fandango has got some heat backstage or something because he's been doing a hell of a lot of jobbing lately, considering he was one of Vince's pet projects during the WrestleMania season period. But anyway, as for this match, you know, they haven't really been doing a good job with Fandango lately. Really, he's been jobbing a lot, like I said. But he had a long, competitive match with CM Punk, which actually, going that much with CM Punk, who's going to be facing Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, actually made him look pretty damn good. He went quite a long time with CM Punk. That was a good thing. It didn't make him look like a jobber. It made him look better because of how long he went in the ring with the person who he was at. You've got CM Punk, who's about here. Fandango is about here. So that really brought Fandango up there a little bit, in my opinion. And CM Punk wins, as he probably should have done. But if anything more, you've got CM Punk a victory, and at least you're not burying Fandango, you know, as much. Like I just think they buried him a little bit last week, and this week they made him look a little better. So they kind of redeemed it a little bit, even though he lost. So Caitlyn got a win over AJ Lee on Raw via a spear, and she earned her shot at the Divas Championship on free TV. I guess the way WWE are doing this is to maybe set up for something further down the line so they have more room on the card for other matches other than the Divas match. I don't really know. But they actually did a good job hyping up Caitlyn versus AJ Lee in Caitlyn's hometown of Houston, Texas. They did a good job highlighting this throughout the night, showing what happened on Raw, backstage interviews, video graphics and everything. So this match actually felt like somewhat of a big deal, in my opinion. And you kind of also had to feel that with the whole Layla and Caitlyn being so buddy-buddy on this edition of SmackDown, that something fishy was definitely going to happen in this match. And as we kind of probably predicted, it did. You had Caitlyn, who was just about to spear AJ, and then Layla gets in her way, tells her to back off, and AJ ends up winning in a rather quick fashion with the Black Widow, keeping her Divas Championship. And it seems like Layla and AJ Lee are now doing some sort of relationship, friendship thing. I don't really know. I do wonder, though, if they're going to be doing some kind of mixed tag match, maybe Ziggler and Caitlyn versus Big E and AJ Lee at SummerSlam, maybe, because the Divas Championship was defended tonight, so they can't really put it on SummerSlam anymore. I just wonder whether it's going to be Big E versus Ziggler in singles action. They weren't really... Ziggler wasn't on SmackDown this week. I just wonder what direction they're going to be going with Ziggler and AJ Lee and how they're going to be going around that going into SummerSlam. I think you kill two birds with one stone if you do a mixed tag team match, or you just keep AJ and Caitlyn off the card and have Big E Langston versus Ziggler, which hopefully Ziggler will win. As you guys know, I don't watch Raw anymore, and for good reason. I can't stand that damn show. So when I see segments, full segments of Raw on SmackDown, it really does piss me off. They re-showed the whole tables match between Cena and Ryback and the post-match stuff between Daniel Bryan and John Cena, which I think WWE are doing quite well right now. It just annoys me when I see full Raw segments on SmackDown. It really does. It just pisses me off no end. And then we got to our main event of the evening, which was going to determine our #1 contender for Del Rio's World Heavyweight Championship going into WWE's third biggest pay-per-view of the year, none other than SummerSlam. My question here is, though, why is Orton getting a World Heavyweight Championship shot when he already has a #1 contendership to the WWE Championship? You'd have thought that would have been a good reason to keep him out of the World Heavyweight Championship picture, but he didn't win this match, so it ended up really not factoring in all that much. I thought during this match, Orton and RVD had some pretty nice combo moves. You had a Rolling Thunder counter into a Power Slam. They seem to really click in the ring, them two. So I do wonder if they're possibly setting up a match between Orton and RVD at SummerSlam in order to give Orton a pay-per-view win as Money in the Bank winner. You know, it seems like they may be setting that up. And let's face it, none of these two really have a feud going into SummerSlam. So why not put them two together? I mean, it's not like they're going to be doing anything else. And this was a pretty good match, I felt, between three babyfaces. One babyface who I feel will probably turn heel down the line, and that is Randy Orton, which is much, much needed for Randy Orton's character, in my opinion. And Christian ends up winning this match. Now, at first I was a little bit critical of Christian winning because he's been losing a lot before Money in the Bank, but he has been on a bit of a roll lately, defeating quite a lot of people. He defeated Alberto Del Rio on Raw, and he's defeated others. So he's on a bit of a win streak right now. So I guess he does have a reason to be a #1 contender right now. Christian got the stamp of approval from Orton and RVD, which I felt was a nice touch. They really did linger and keep on this segment quite well, which made it seem more important for a guy like Christian, who very rarely gets shots like these. But to be honest with you, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I thought they would have a bigger opponent lined up for Alberto Del Rio at SummerSlam. You know, a big pay-per-view like SummerSlam, you would kind of expect big matches, especially when the World Heavyweight Championship, which is WWE's second-tier belt, second-top belt, you'd expect a bigger match there. I guess this is just a filler match for Del Rio to try and give him a good pay-per-view win in a good match against a guy like Christian, who you don't really think is going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, but you can still get behind him because of his one more match and the fact that he doesn't really get involved in the main event all that much. So I felt this main event was pretty good. You even had the post-match segment where Alberto Del Rio attacked Christian to get some heat on him. So we have our third match now for SummerSlam, Christian versus Alberto Del Rio. Now I do wonder how long it's going to take for WWE to announce the rest of their card. I mean, we've got Cody Rhodes and Sandow, which is being featured very prominently on SmackDown, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm just wondering what else WWE are going to put together, because I believe we're, 2, maybe 3 weeks away from SummerSlam, and we've only really got 3 matches announced. We've got the 3 bigger matches announced, but I want to see how they're going to fill out the rest of the card. But anyway, I'm now going to move on from this main event onto my overall thoughts. Overall, I thought this was a pretty decent SmackDown, actually. I mean, they didn't exactly knock it out of the park, but a lot of, some decent stuff happened on the show. I mean, you had stuff that I didn't really care about, like E Langston versus Sin Cara, the whole rerun of the Raw segment between John Cena and Ryback in that tables match. But there was some stuff on there that I felt did a good job. I mean, you actually got the #1 contendership sorted out for the World Heavyweight Championship, and they featured Christian quite well, even though I'm not a massive fan of Christian being put in that spot for a big pay-per-view like SummerSlam. CM Punk and Fandango was a pretty decent match that I thought was quite effective. The Divas segment had something semi-interesting happening on it, which you can't really say for many Divas segments. So I just thought in general that SmackDown was a pretty decent show, despite the fact that we didn't really see guys like Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, etc., The Shield, people like that. So leave me your thoughts on this SmackDown and some of the stuff that I've talked about down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching this SmackDown review if you have. I am Mr. Parkin on behalf of the British Fist. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.